What's up, everyone? Welcome to a very, very special episode of Fest Friends. I'm your host, Survival. You know me from founding Summerfest, hopefully, and hopefully you've seen the other 9 or so episodes of Fest Friends. You'll notice that this one is a little bit different. We are in our home, in the living room. More on that in a second. I am with a very, very special guest. She is a wonderful mother, a wonderful magician. I'm hesitant to say wonderful wife because then it sounds like, you know what I mean? But she is a wonderful wife.
Mediocre wife.
She is my wife, which is why we're under the same roof. Hence our disregard of some of the COVID sanctions, as it were. Everyone, please welcome Zoe Reiches.
Wear a mask.
Yes, everyone,
Keep your
please do wear a mask. Thank you so much for joining me. This took a while to set up, even though we live under
Thanks
the same
for
roof.
having me. I don't know why it took a while. Definitely wasn't me.
Yeah, okay. It was almost certainly had to have been me pushing out the schedule, and
It was definitely you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just to brief everyone on your relationship to Summerfest, you have been an integral part, a co-founder, just a rock in terms of supporting me and all of my vision. But you're also a performer. Can you tell the audience what it is that you do?
Yeah, in addition to my obligatory co-hosting, I am an obligatory magician. So I am mandated to walk around and show people magic tricks that I've been practicing for, I don't know, 20 years? A long time. A long time practicing card tricks.
That's a lot.
A lot, yeah.
So, and are you just primarily a card trick magician, or do you have like an array of things?
Some may say I have an array. I guess I would say I have an array. I like little things. I like doing magic with small things like rubber bands, coins, matchbooks, cards, pens, whatever's around. You know, not so much into the big doves and cutting people in half and that kind of thing.
I hear a lot of shade in that statement.
No, it's an old dying art form, and it's dying and it's great. You know?
All right. So I have a bunch of questions. I'm dying to know these things. I'm just kidding. I already know these things, but the audience is dying to know some of these things. Like, how the heck does one Zoe Reiches get into magic, and who influenced her to get into magic?
Good questions. So, I got into magic when I was very young. I was 10. We moved a lot when I was a kid. And my dad took me to a magic shop in Manhattan that is still there, although at a different location in Manhattan. And I guess I was really interested in it. There were some creepy old magicians who kind of took me under their wing and showed me the literal and proverbial back room of magic, which is kind of where tricks are exposed and shown and explained and the nuances are taught. And one of the creepy old men encouraged me to stick with magic and go to a magic camp when I was 12. You have to be 12. And so I did. And I've pretty much gone to camp every year since. I've been a counselor for a number of years, but it's a super special magical week. I love it. It's like the only week of the year I get to be creative and not have to worry about also like cooking dinner and like work. So it is work. Being a camp counselor is really hard. Kids are hard. But it's a really fun creative week. And so that's how I got into magic. I think, so this was true when I was 10. This was true 20 years later. Magic is a boys' club, and we're working to change that. There are a lot of amazing, far more involved women in magic than I am, and they're really championing what it means to be a magician and changing what it means to be a magician. And I'm so excited for the future of magic in that regard. It's time. It's definitely a time's up field. And, I want to be a big part of that change. It's hard. It's hard to be part of that change. And it's hard to be in that world sometimes. But for whatever reason, I think a lot of kids get into magic and a fraction of us stick with it. And, I have to give a shout out to the community of magicians that supported me and held me up and encouraged me, and helped me kind of float along, because there are points where I would have given it up. And they just didn't let it happen, and I'm thankful for that. So,
all right, coalition of magicians.
Yeah,
nice job.
You know who you are.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I've met a couple of you guys. Guys stole my nose and took things out of my ear, but in any case, let's go back a little bit to your childhood and kind of being exposed to magic. What do you remember being your first trick that you learned or that you purchased? I know some of them can be purchased like in a store, not, like these days online where you're, transacting digitally. But, going back to the 90s, what did that look like? What was the first thing you learned?
I guess it was the 90s. So I think YouTube and online retailers for magic are great. It's getting accessibility out there in a way it's never been before, and I think that's going to eventually help change who's involved in magic. I definitely learned in an old school way, walking into a kind of secret magic shop, and they would kind of assess my skill level and show me a trick and try to sell it to me. So the very, very first trick that I got was a color changing disc trick, which is like hardly a trick in hindsight. It's like you have two small colorful discs that are copper bound on each side, and you kind of join them together and the color on the disc changes. That's it. And it's a gimmick, but it was great. It was a great place to start as a 10-year-old. And it totally fooled all of the people I wanted to be friends with on the playground, which is arguably why I got into magic. My second trick that involved more skill was a simple vanishing silk, which I'm sure I did terribly at the time. You could argue I do it terribly now. But that one effect has a method and a mechanism that can be applied to hundreds of magic tricks. And that is something that stuck with me and something I still use today. I don't vanish a silk per se anymore, but I use the same technique. And it's one of those things that, I started it 20 years ago and I'm still practicing it today. And it's all about those little nuances and misdirection and creative ways to use the same gimmick and effect over and over. So I think that was probably those were the first things. And then card magic got woven in there because a lot of magicians are like done with cards, and like a lot of my friends who are magicians are done with cards. I still love card magic. I love it. It's just like never ending. So that kind of is just something I practiced as I could and when I could, and something I still love. I try to pick up like a new move once a year.
Awesome. And so a lot of people who may have come to Summerfest in 2019 probably noticing something a little bit different about you. Speaking of vanishing things, your belly vanished.
My belly vanished.
So, and one of the reasons that we are doing this at the time that we are, and we're trying to be really, really quiet, is because we have an 11-month-old upstairs. So, what have you been up to since July 2019 when we last saw you? It's been a myriad of things that have happened.
I feel like you gave a pretty strong lead up there, so it would be bizarre if I didn't mention that I had been up to having and raising a baby. So a month after Summerfest, maybe to the day. When was Summerfest?
It was
Is the 19th.
July
Than a
19th.
month. Less than a month after Summerfest. We had a baby girl who's just the coolest little human ever. She's so chill. And so I've been doing a lot of like raising a baby and like figuring out how to do that.
By yourself.
No assistance from my community or partner. It's been remarkable. Raising her in a vacuum. I do it all by myself. I'm a superwoman. I don't know how I do it. No, my entire community and my spouse have been amazing at helping me raise this nugget. Have never felt alone ever, even some real long nights in the beginning there. So I've definitely been doing that. We had a few months while I wasn't working to hang out with her. Here for longer parental leaves, just for the record. 3 months.
Here.
3 months is not enough. And right after I went back to work, we moved. I don't know if you remember that. We moved.
I do remember that.
Yeah, okay. Cool. I'm glad you remember. So we moved and we had like a 5-month-old. And then it turns out there was this global pandemic. I don't know if your audience has heard of it. It has definitely impacted a couple people. And we were not immune from that, but we are lucky in that we could both, for now anyway, remain employed and be home with our little nugget. So that is like 2 full-time jobs wrapped into one, because we're no longer paying someone to watch our kid when really we'd rather watch our kid. But we're also doing work. So it's been really busy. We have a lot of toilet paper stocked up, so I feel like that was a part-time job, making sure that we had enough toilet paper.
For sure.
And other than that, I've been getting a lot of plants on Etsy, so now we have a lot of house plants.
Not a huge fan of that.
I know you're not, but they're so nice.
Yeah. I mean, they're fairly quiet and
they're really low key, low
maintenance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the pet that we'll never have. I've continued to try to convince my spouse to let us adopt a hedgehog.
Oh, now you're appealing to the audience. I see what you're doing. I'm gonna put the kibosh on that.
Hashtag Righteous Hedgehog 2020.
Okay, I guess I'll throw that at the bottom.
Her name is going to be Spike Leah. It's going to be a girl.
I see.
We're expecting hedgehog parents. And that'll be great when we have that. I think that'll be something that everyone will want to see on Instagram a lot, for sure. Other than that, just the day-to-day. Magic Camp, my favorite week of the year. It was virtual this year, which was a huge lift. I was not involved in that huge lift at all, but I was the recipient of getting to watch those things. So that's been really great to be involved in some way, even if it was just as an audience member and a tiny bit of teaching. Yeah.
I guess that's a good segue into what you were referring to earlier with COVID and just its massive impact on the world and the way in which we all communicate and see each other. So can you tell us some of the things that you've been up to creatively during COVID? And you mentioned Tannet's Magic Camp and what they're doing in terms of their virtual outreach to in lieu of being having an in-person camp on the campus of Bryn Mawr. So tell us about some of the virtual things that you've been up to creatively.
Sure. So this question haunted me because, I'm definitely one of those people who sees everyone posting memes about taking the time for themselves and having some creative, reflective time. And I'm up here like, steaming sweet potatoes and mashing them and freezing them so our baby has something to eat, and like trying to fit in a yoga class once in a while in my living room. I think it's okay. That's okay. It's okay to, do the day-to-day things. Like, if there were more hours in the day. But I hope to be more creative, yes. But here we are. This is the time that we have. So what I've been doing is I did one quick little kids magic show on Facebook Live, and I just had like so much anxiety about it throughout the day. But then I got a lot of really positive feedback and immediately decided to never do it again.
Hashtag COVID Cadabra.
COVID Cadabra. Yeah. Sometimes the anxiety is not worth it. I don't know. Maybe it was the wrong choice. Maybe I should do it again, but I'm not going to right now. So the actual thing that is tiny and silly that has been a great creative outlet is I've been participating in and hosting all of these game nights over Zoom with friends, with all facets of my friendship life. Magic friends and college friends and high school friends and whatever. And we play these like silly games, and then I get my creative on, and like it's whatever gets your juices flowing. Jackbox counts. So that's what I've been doing. I've been playing games as my creative outlet, and I'm gonna take it as a win because it's a challenging time, and this is where I am, and I'm gonna be okay with that. But if you want to talk to me about like types of soil, like I'm here for it, like what kind of plant goes with what kind of soil,
We will give your email address to everyone that wants to talk to you about soil.
I'm here
I'm
for
sure
you.
that there are tens and tens of people that
single
are
digits
super interested in that and not the magic portion of our conversation. So it's July now. Mm-hmm. We have been in the midst of some very trying times.
Sure. Yeah.
You are sitting here with me. You're married to me. I am a person of color. There are some things happening out there in the world. You are a woman, and there are things that are happening to women all over the place. What do you make of all of the things that are happening, sort of like coalescing all at the same time in terms of current events?
I wonder if by the time you post this on Facebook or wherever you're posting it, I worry that it's not, this is going to feel not of the moment and stale, but the reality is we have to keep it fresh and keep the conversation going and not stop. So I'm glad that you ask it, even if it's not every headline right now, because it's important that it stays front of mind. I wish I had something to say other than what's been said, and I wish I had.
Well, what are some of the ways in which you've been participating in some of the protests or giving back to the community? All of those things that we're hoping that people are uniting to do in this country, and at this time specifically.
Yeah. We have attended our own social distance demonstration. We've stood outside with signs and in solidarity. We've donated to causes focused on social justice, specifically racial justice. I'm part of a white anti-racist affinity group that meets bi-weekly because, white girls got to do something. I reread White Fragility and So you want to talk about race. I mean, they're all checkbox things, and I get something out of them. But I understand that does not move the needle in a systemic way. I mean, you've been grinding, what you've been doing. I guess like part of my role is to support that and challenge assumptions of people around me. I tried to spearhead an initiative at work that got off the ground and then got backlash, which is going to happen. But it still got off the ground. Mm-hmm. So I guess in that sense, kind of like trying to use my leverage in my position at work. Engaged in conversation. The problem is I live in an echo bubble and I don't have people in my circle or in my network who disagree with me or necessarily who challenge me. And I think, one of my goals might be to try to expand my network to not live in this echo bubble, which is hard and uncomfortable, and who wants to do that, but it's important. And just try, I think sometimes it's okay to just try to exist. So I think sometimes just trying to exist and question my assumptions, my biases, right. which everyone is doing and should do constantly. And just, really try to dismantle my own beliefs and or participation in what is this white power structure that we live in, and try to stay out of your way while you get things done, because I know I can be really difficult.
Can be an impediment.
I can be an impediment. I can question and challenge.
A little bit of a speed bump.
Yeah. So, I try not to do that. Yeah, those are the things.
Cool. Well, Zoe Reiches, in Agent of Change, both for racial justice, trying to do things in the magic community to prop up more women, and
that'd be great.
Also trying to teach our daughter to, have humility and.
I don't know about that. She doesn't need any humility.
I will do that. And also, grow up to be a strong, empowered Black and Jewish woman in this world. So it's going to be a challenge, but we are up to it as parents. Hey there. Apologies for cutting that interview short. We have a small child, and he needs her mama. So that's what it is. I want to thank Zoe Reiches, magician, activist, and mother, for joining me for this live rendition of Fast Friends. Anyone looking to contact Zoe Reiches, feels weird saying her name like that. So never really, I just call her by her name. Can do so via Instagram at zreiches. Don't slide in her DMs without letting me know first. All booking inquiries, however, can go directly to her if you're looking to, book her for a little virtual magic gig or something like that. You can send an email over to zreiches@gmail.com. So I want to wrap up and just say that this season and what came out of it, this impromptu season, has been a great ride, tremendous learning experience, and I want to give a huge thanks and shout out to all of the folks who let me interview them this season, from Joel Edwards, None Brown West, Tyler Allen, DJ Elliot Ness, Faisal and Emily Abid, Colgan Johnson, the hip hop juggler, Lunchbag, Kofi Thomas, and last but not least, Zoe Reiches. So we hope to be back and producing live physical Summerfest events really soon, but obviously want to ensure that first and foremost, you, the people, are safe and healthy. So we're going to wait and hold off until that day comes, and until then, we'll see you virtually. Peace.